Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just
speaking into the void?
But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso. Gift magical mornings with Nespresso Virtuo Pop. Compact and stylish, Virtuo Pop is made to meet every morning coffee craving. From espresso to coffee, hot or iced, at the click of a button. And celebrate the season with Nespresso's limited edition coffee flavors. Sweet almond and hibiscus, cinnamon and candied tamarind, and festive double espresso. Magic in the making. Shop the holiday gift collection exclusively at Nespresso.com.
Buckeye Talk is about to begin. Hey, 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 come on in.
Welcome back to Buckeye Talk. I'm Stephen Means, and that's Stefan Krajisnik, and this is your Monday Leave No Doubt pod, where every single Monday during the season we try to answer the question, did Ohio State leave no doubt in the game they played? Sometimes it's about the actual game they played, and sometimes it can just be about bigger picture conversations. This one is going to be about the UCLA game and talking about, obviously, the right guard spot is where we're going to spend most of this conversation. And just some takeaways from what we thought, because I did think we saw a lot of people in this game, and I think that was good. I think it was good to just get a lot of football players in the game, because I think whether it's for this season or for the future, I just think you got a good chance to like check in on some guys that maybe you're wondering, hey, how's that guy's development going? Because it's going to matter here, or whether it's 2 weeks from now, 2 months from now, or 12 months from now, some of these guys are going to turn into impact players here very, very soon. Ohio State beat UCLA 48-10 on Saturday night. Final home game in the shoe, potentially final home game in the shoe. I guess let's see what happens over the next 3 weeks. So, though, listen, man, if they beat Michigan, then they're going to get a bye, regardless of what happens in the Big Ten championship game. But, Stefan, you watched right guard specifically, for essentially the entirety of the football game.
Yeah.
So, when you were rewatching it, you weren't watching it with fresh eyes the way I was, because I was obviously, we're not all paying attention to the same thing every single play. There's 22 people on the field, so we're all paying attention to different things. Let's start with Tegra Shabola. Tegra Shabola ends up playing 26 snaps in this game. He did start in this game against UCLA. PFF grade of 61.4, run blocking grade of 56, pass pro of 84.3, and doesn't give up any pressures.
Yeah, pass pro was best on.
Yeah, pass pro's best on the team. Just what did you think immediately at the buzzer when you were writing your story versus getting a chance to maybe go back through it, and what you just thought of Tegra Shabola snaps?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be quite honest with both of them. I thought upon immediately watching it, like live, and upon rewatching it, I kind of thought both guys played better than their PFF scores would suggest, right? Gabe Van Sickle ended up with a 55.7, Tegra with a 61.4. That is the bottom two of the 6 offensive linemen at the top, right? We're talking about Carson Hinsman, Luke Montgomery, Austin Sareville, Philip Daniels, and then the next two are Gabe Van Sickle, Tegra. I thought they both played better than their grade suggested, to be quite honest with you. And to start with Tegra, yeah, I mean, the pass pro was awesome. Like, whenever Julian Sane was, being threatened or being pressured or anything like that, it was often not Tegra Shabola's fault. I think he was, if I'm not mistaken, Tegra was in on the drive where Julian rolled his ankle. That was not Tegra's fault. The pressure came from the right side, but and tell me if you disagree. It seemed like it was 3 guys coming against the 2. I don't think it was Philip Daniels. I don't think it was Tegra to blame. I think either Ohio State didn't identify it properly, or whoever, I can't remember who the running back was in on the play. Maybe should have helped out there. What was that?
It was Bo.
Yeah.
Bo was the running back.
It didn't seem like it was a Tegra problem. So I honestly, I thought Tegra was really good. And there's 2 ways to approach the Tegra conversation. I think one is when he has been challenged by Ryan Day specifically, but I'm sure by the entirety of the staff, Tyler Bowen included in this. And if you want to go, last year to Justin Fry, like when Tegra's been challenged and his starting job has been put in question, and every time we've had this conversation of like, what is Tegra's future? What is he going to keep starting? He's responded, right? I think the Penn State game this year was the most obvious example of that, where we went into that bye week and we're thinking to ourselves, all right, Josh Padilla has a chance to, between the three of us, at least one of us predicted that Josh Padilla was going to start against Penn State. And Tegra ended up having probably his best game of the season against Penn State. And then he struggled against Purdue. But then he played well again, I thought, against UCLA. And I'm just, when you challenge him and when he's up for it, it seems like he shows up. But part two of that conversation is what I said in the offseason, what I said early in the season when he struggled, what I've been saying. Maybe the best version of Tegra is the Tegra Shabola who plays. This game was kind of an anomaly. He played 26. I think if it was a serious opponent and it wasn't garbage time, because when he would have rotated back in is when we saw Ethan Owinyawa and the backups kind of come in.
Yeah.
Ethan was playing left guard, but it's when we saw the backups come in. I wonder if that would have been like, okay, it's a tie game. Tegra, you're back out there with the starters. So like the 26 snaps is probably lower, but like I wonder if Tegra playing, I still wonder if Tegra playing 30, 35-ish snaps is when he's at his best. So that's the thing I'm like balancing is like, is it when he's being challenged or is it when he's dividing the workload? Like when I say being challenged and also like he's up for it. Like it's a game that he shows up for. So is it when he's up for it or is it him dividing the workload and be able to take some reps off? And is it maybe a mixture of those two things? And I feel like walking away from this game, I think the answer is he has to rotate in some capacity because Tegra at 70 snaps is not the best version of right guard for Ohio State.
So I liked how they did it. 2 on, 2 off, essentially, with Tegra and Gabe. I thought because what it did was provide a healthy sample size of both, right? In terms of what they're doing offensively, especially in the run game. I thought this was Ohio State's run game has been on a steady incline in the back half of the season. And I thought from an execution standpoint, in terms of getting a hat on a hat, I thought the running backs read holes well, whether you're talking Bo Jackson, Isaiah West, James Peoples. I know James Peoples probably had the biggest highlight of the day because he hurdled a guy, but Bo Jackson had a run for 32 yards. Isaiah West had a run for 38 yards. But in their other carries, they were just as efficient, I felt like. And I just, on a day when they can't really get explosives in the pass game because Jeremiah Smith isn't fully healthy and Cardinal Tate's not playing. And it was very clear at times that like Julian Sands he's not working with the twos as often. He's just, so when you take the two dudes who are probably he's working the most with away, I liked what I saw from Brandon Ennis, even though a lot of his stuff was underneath stuff and there wasn't a lot of opportunities for yards after the catch, which is why he ends up with 30 yards on 6 catches. When you're catching the ball 1 yard ahead of the line of scrimmage and there's people around you 2 seconds after you catch the ball because they're playing a bunch of zone, then there's not really opportunities to turn a 2-yard catch into a 15-yard gain, right? So I thought he was fine. I'll come back to Brandon Ennis later. But I thought overall with Tegra and Gabe Van Sickle, starting with Tegra, I thought Tegra had a good day. And the way you describe challenge, I've always described it more as he sees a threat to somebody taking his job, and then all of a sudden it brings the best out of him. Because if you don't do this better, this guy is good enough to take your job. And I felt like last year in the playoff, you're looking at Luke and Austin. It's like those guys are good enough to take your job. Not me, not I. I'm not losing my job. And he played well in the college football playoff. All of a sudden, Josh Padilla pops up, right, in that middle part of the season. Hey, this guy's good enough to take your job. Not me, not my job. I'm keeping this. Great 2 weeks off. Great game against Penn State. Josh Padilla gets hurt. All of a sudden, there's nobody good enough to take his job. Ethan Nyawa wasn't good enough to take his job. Ethan Nyawa wasn't good enough to win the job. They brought him in to win. And so we saw a decline. All of a sudden, Gabe Van Sickle gets out there against Purdue, gets his first meaningful snaps of his career, and it looks pretty good. Hey, Tegra, this guy's good enough to take your job. Nuh-uh, not I. He's not taking my job. You see what you get against UCLA here. And we have to take it with a grain of salt still because UCLA, especially the pass pro part of it, because, again, Ohio State's pass pro, I don't think has been an issue this year, really ever. Like, the quarterbacks here don't get sacked. And because you can scheme around that type of stuff. But even if they couldn't scheme around that type of stuff, UCLA has 7 sacks this year. They're the only team in the Big Ten with less than 10 sacks. this year, and they have a total of 76 pressures, and nobody has more than 8, and only 2 people have more than 6, and that's Anthony Jones and Keyshawn Bennett. So like they're just not. This is not a good football team. So great pass pro in terms of guys won their one-on-ones. You're right. I think the time that Julian got hurt, that was a blitzer, and Bo Jackson just didn't pick it up. But good, like he's learning. Like him and Isaiah West have both had some moments the last 2 weeks in pass pro where it's like, well, that's why CJ Donaldson's been out there. But also CJ Donaldson didn't play on Saturday, so like somebody's got to play in third and long situations. Somebody's got to play when they want to pass the ball. Bo can learn from that. Isaiah West can learn from what it was last week. But I thought Tegra had a good day. Take it with a grain of salt because of the opponent, but also it's another example of, hey, Tegra, somebody can take your job. It's like, nah, no one's taking my job. I'm almost wondering what can they do to bring that fight out of him in general? Because I'm all for the competitive spirit of holding down the fort, but if we can get him to play with that mentality, whether that's the reality or not, then maybe you do get a maximized Tegra Shabola, even if the other part of that is probably correct of 6'6", 340 pounds, he probably can't play 70 snaps again, which I understand that. But because it's not just that for me, it's like a mental thing almost. I don't know which way to swing more in terms of, is it just because like he's a big dude and he's got a ceiling on how many snaps he should play a game versus like, unless his competitive juice is going and he's like internally motivated, then maybe he's not at his best.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a mix of both, right? I think that's probably the answer to it. Yeah, I think it's also just human nature. Like, if I tell you you only got 35 snaps, you better go make them count. I think that's what, like, that's the conversations we have when last year Brandon Innes gets a snap against Penn State and he scores a touchdown. It's like, I don't know, man, you're going to get 5 snaps. Better go make them count. And that can apply to someone who plays 35 snaps because his norm is 70. So there's probably a mental aspect to it. There's probably a physical aspect to it. I'm sure if you told Austin Searveld, like, hey, for whatever reason, like, we don't need you for 70 snaps today, like, we'll only give you 35. I bet you he looks really refreshed when he plays those 35 snaps because he's not having to play 70. But Austin Searveld is also your best left tackle, so you're not taking him out off the field, right? So there is the physical side to it. But yeah, I think the mental side definitely plays into it a bit too, where it's, if you're telling Tegra Shabola, hey, let's not even use Tegra Shabola. If you're telling people in general, hey, you got 35 snaps instead of 70, you're going to try to make them count to prove that you deserve 70. And if Ohio State feels like continuing to do that, saying, hey, you get 35 is going to bring the best out of him, then you got to do it. And I think that probably goes into what we're going to talk about next is, if you're going to do that, whoever's playing those other 35 snaps has to be pretty good. And I think Gabe Vensicle was.
Before we move on to Gabe, did you think that Austin Searveld's holding penalty was valid?
I thought it was kind of soft. I could kind of see what the refs maybe kind of saw. I don't know. I thought it was kind of soft.
I felt like the refs were a little too involved in this game in general with some of it, but it was also so sloppy on one end, and it got a little chippy at times. Like Brandon Innes got into it with some DBs. Davison Igbinosun gets into it with a wide receiver every single week. And it felt like they were trying to keep control of an environment that didn't need controlling.
No, I thought the game in general went way too long. It 7:30 kickoff. I took a picture of Ryan Day talking to Neuheisel at 10:48 p.m.
Yeah.
So that's, and granted, Day had finished his post-game interview on the field and stuff like that. I don't know if you noticed, Indiana's game against Wisconsin, granted it was on Big Ten Network, went 2 hours and 45 minutes. I have never seen that. At least like since, obviously like years ago, games went pretty quick because we didn't have 700 commercials. But like 2 hours and 45 minutes, and that was with a Wisconsin player getting like seriously injured and like getting carted off and like there being an extended delay. Like Cignetti was ready to be out of there in like 2.5 hours.
I don't like this new wave of score, commercial, kickoff, commercial.
Specifically when it's a touchback.
Yes.
Like we got nothing out of this.
Nothing out of it. And I think when we're there, because we're at games, you don't notice it as much because you're always doing something, right? And plus it was a lot happening early on in that game with, we're trying to keep an eye on JJ. Julian got nicked up, and so we're trying to watch him, and he was in the tent for all of like 2 minutes, but of course it felt like an eternity because you're starting quarterback. There's just a bunch happening.
We also write in the second half, so when it goes to commercial, we actually kind of like it because like, okay, we can start like doing work.
Yeah. The second half is like, it gives us some grace, but in the first half, But even in the first half, because like I write something at halftime every single
Right.
game, it's not dawning on me that one thing happened and then we're sitting there waiting on another thing to happen for 5 minutes because it's a bunch of commercials happening. So when you're watching at home, when there's not a release from that, right? You can't go, like, you're not going to the bathroom, you're not talking to it's just like you're sitting there watching an Apple ad for the up millionth time or the Limu Emu ad for the up millionth time. And you're like, I just want to watch football.
We're also like, when did this era of like just rotating commercial, like it's the same 5 commercials. When did this start?
It's because we all have streaming. We all have streaming. And it's whatever. And you want to know how you know it's the same rotating commercials? Because after a while on YouTube TV, they'll run out of commercials and then they'll just show you that screen that says, we'll be back momentarily.
Yep.
And it's just like a Google screensaver
Yep.
screen. I just want to watch football. I get it. We got to pay for all this stuff. But please stop turning my life into a 3-hour ad. I just want to watch football. Incorporate them. Like, dude, this first down is brought to you by Safe Auto or Safe Light or something like that. I don't know, man. Just do that. But please stop shoving it.
How do you feel about the screen within the screen where it's like, we'll be right back, but then like it's like they go split screen where it's commercial, but at the same time you're watching like the offense like walk out to the field.
Oh, I like that because it doesn't take me away from football. Yeah. Whatever doesn't take me away from the thing I actually signed up to watch. Because they do that in the NBA too, where they'll be at the free throw line and they'll show them at the free throw line, but they'll also be playing an ad. Yes. Whatever doesn't take me away from the thing I'm actually trying to watch right now, do more of that. Unless I love the Limu Emu and we are farmers. I'm just. Stop. Go away. I want to watch football. So here's how I want to talk about Gabe Van Sickle. For me personally, I'm not saying you have to do this. I noticed what they did when Tegra Shabola was in the game versus when Gabe Van Sickle was in the game. And I'm not just talking about the execution. I'm talking about the play calls. Running to the left is what this offense is going to do because, for starters, Luke Montgomery and Carson Hinsman are bullies. That was mean. If they showed them bullying a defensive tackle, that was mean, Luke. You don't have to. I mean, you do have to do it. It's your job. But that side of the line is so good when they're on, especially in the run game, and that's where a lot of their money is going to get made. But when Tegra was in the game, I think they just know they can't go to the right as much. It's just not. They'll try it, but it's not going to be their bread and butter. It felt like with Gabe Van Sickle, it wasn't just like, let's get him reps. It was, let's see what we can do when Gabe Van Sickle's in the game. And they were running to the right a lot. And they were busting stuff, right? They pointed one on the broadcast where Gabe Van Sickle gets up on a double team so quickly that Bo Jackson is able to be just decisive and it's just boom, I'm through the hole. Isaiah West had one where it's just boom, I'm through the hole, right? Like regardless of what Philip Daniels is doing, Gabe Van Sickle just got through the double team and up to the second level so quickly that boom, boom, explosive run play. And that is something I have not seen with Tegra Shabola in the game. And that is something that, unfortunately, because Josh Padilla has not had extended opportunities, we have not seen that with Josh Padilla. But they can be a threat running to the left. It looked like with Gabe Van Sickle, and again, grain of salt, this is one of the worst rushing defenses in college football. So we take all this with a grain of salt. But from an execution, getting a hat on a helmet, Gabe Van Sickle gave them the option to run right.
Yeah.
And that's important to me.
I 100% agree. I was very surprised to see that run blocking grade. Gabe was slightly better than Tegra. I thought he was a bit
significant.
Yeah, like close to significantly better, right? Because the people's hurdle, when he went to the right, Gabe Van Sickle was on the field. If I'm not mistaken, the people's run to the right, his touchdown in garbage time, I believe Gabe Van Sickle was on the field for that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like, we saw Ohio State attack the right side of things, but a good bit in the running game when Gabe Van Sickle was in the game. And I do think the Gabe, like I said, he had a slightly better run blocking game. PFF, I thought it should have maybe been significantly better. I do think that Tegra was the better pass pro guy.
Yeah.
But I do think Gabe, especially when they went to his side, was the better run blocking guy. And for a team that, like, the one area that they're trying to figure out is the running game, that seems important to me. Can Gabe be good enough in pass pro to where giving you a strength in a run game is enough to bring him in and play him?
Let me ask you this, because the PFF grades are what they are. And again, we always say take them with a grain of salt. They're a data point. They're not the only data point.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is the only data point. Everything is just a data point in the bigger picture. Who did you think was better on Saturday? Tegra Shabola, the pass blocker, or Gabe Van Sickle, the run?
Gabe, the run blocker.
And I think it was like significantly.
Mm-hmm.
I think Gabe Van Sickle, the pass blocker, was the best player of the four variations of these two players. I
thought Ohio State's pass pro in general was fine.
Right. It wasn't bad. It doesn't make me think any differently about their ability to protect Julian Sand, who's been sacked like 6 times this year. But it also didn't blow me away that, but also I've seen them handle Colin Simmons and deny Dennis Sutton and Zane Durant. So, so it's not like, it was fine. What happens when they play somebody good? We know what happens when they play somebody good. We've seen them multiple times play somebody good. So they're going to be okay there. I'm not always a big fan of let's just see the guy we never get to see because we haven't gotten to see him yet. And so he hasn't been ruined for us yet. But I would like to see more Gabe Van Sickle. I thought, and it's because of who they played. It's because they played a team who has a terrible pass rush and a terrible run blocking. And I want to be able to tell myself that my eyes were not lying to me. And that his effectiveness wasn't just about the opponent wasn't very good. There's something there. And Rutgers, unfortunately, isn't going to answer that much more for me, but it's more experience for him because there's the 2 of the 3 worst run defenses in college football from a Power 4 standpoint are 2 of the 3 teams that Ohio State plays next. And that's UCLA, and that was Rutgers. Neither one of Rutgers is literally the worst pass rushing defense in the country right now, regardless of Power 4 or Group of 5 level. So it's not, but I just want to see more of it. I want to see enough of that I feel like Ohio State can run the ball against Michigan if they need to. They still need to throw it first. But if they need to, if there's an opportunity to get an explosive run, like a 40-yard run in that game, I want to know that they can do it running behind Gabe Van Sickle. And if he gives me 2 weeks of what I saw on Saturday, I'm going to feel way more confident about that versus it just being he looked good against a team that's also not very good.
Yes, 100% agree. So what happens Saturday when Josh Padilla is playing?
Because I don't think you can do the 2 Tegra, 2 Gabe, and then 2 Josh Padilla.
Right. I think you walk out of that being like, I'm not sure what I took. Because by the time 2 Padilla comes around, it might be 28-0.
Yeah, and the game is, but also whoever goes third is getting a tired defensive line. So it's just not, that's already bad. So
Which, by the way, you mentioned that. I kind of wish Van Sickle was the one who had gotten the first drives out of the second half.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because he ended up the rotation a little bit.
Yeah, because he ended up playing more than Tegra, but that's because he also stayed in there for the garbage time snaps. Because, he's a second-year guy who needs the snaps. What do they do next week? I don't know. Did Josh Padilla miss his moment this year?
I think Josh Padilla might have missed his moment this regular season.
Yeah. That's right. Because you got 30 days after Big Ten Championship game to figure it out.
I think you spend the Rutgers game saying it's Tegra and Gabe doing their rotation, and then Padilla can get the entire fourth quarter if he wants, if the game allows for that. And then against Michigan, it's Tegra and Gabe with whatever the best balance you think of the 2 is. And probably against Indiana, that same thing, right? And if either of those games, because let's be honest, football specific, there is a chance that there's garbage time against Michigan. There is a chance that there's garbage time against Indiana.
Sure.
Padilla could get snaps in those games. So that leave that in there. Let Padilla get garbage time against Rutgers, against Rutgers definitely, Michigan and Indiana if the situation allows it. But go into all 3 of those games being like, our top 2 right guards are Gabe Van Sickle and Tegra Shabola. And if you leave Ann Arbor and if you leave Indianapolis saying that this still isn't quite good enough, then you have 30 days in practice to see what Padilla can give you fully healthy and figure it out. But I think right now you're in a spot where against Michigan, against Indiana, Tegra Shabola and Gabe Van Sickle have to be your top 2 guys. I just am not sure if this Rutgers game is going to be enough for you to identify that Josh Padilla is the significantly better option to be the rotating right guard and completely dismiss what Gabe Van Sickle just did against UCLA.
Was Josh Padilla at the game on Saturday? Did you remember seeing him?
No. That said, a lot of the players who were out weren't necessarily warming up while we were down on the field. I didn't see Carnell while Ohio State was warming up. I saw Carnell walk in, but I was also looking for Carnell. I wasn't looking for Josh Padilla. So I don't want to say yes or no either way.
Fair, because also, Carnell Tate's a star, so even in the rewatch, they're gonna put him on TV and say, "See, Carnell's not dressed today." Like they're not gonna do that for Josh Padilla the same way. The reason I'm asking is because it's like the reason you're saying that, and it's the reason I agree with you. Has Josh Padilla been practicing? And if he hasn't been practicing since the injury that he sustained against Penn State, at least not full go, which means those reps have been going to Tegra Shabola and Gabe Van Sickle, and Gabe has clearly been taking advantage of those reps and then performing on the football field. I don't view Josh Padilla missing Purdue and Penn State the same way I view Carnell Tate missing Purdue and Penn State. And that's not just about who's the better football player, who's the better at doing their job. It's just one's played a lot of football. And so plopping him back in is a lot easier than plopping in a dude to an environment in Ann Arbor that he's never played in, and he doesn't really have a lot of banked in reps to go off of to have him mentally prepared for that moment, right? Because he got hurt early in the Penn State game, so he has not played a lot of high leverage snaps. So to plop him into the Ann Arbor game as a rotational piece after just playing Rutgers, I just don't think that's a wise move versus like, I understand Gabe's young, but at least he'll have 2 weeks of build up to that. I'm with you. I would almost be more okay, and they're not going to do this right now, but I would almost think that a safer option than doing that would be if you wanted to move Phillip Daniels to right guard and put Ian Moore at right tackle.
Yeah.
Playing Josh.
Because Ian Moore has played reps the last 2 weeks and will play more reps against Rutgers.
Yeah. So I'd rather,
no, I agree.
If you play 65 snaps against Penn State, the way this is going, actually, regardless of what this happens, I think you get the Michigan. You work in Josh Padilla on Saturday with the probably more garbage time minutes, and if you just give him the whole fourth quarter, you give him the whole fourth quarter. But I think the first 3 quarters of that game need to be just what you did this past week. 2 for Tegra, 2 for Gabe, 2 for Tegra, 2 for Gabe. I don't know, maybe 1 more for Tegra, 1 more for Gabe. What's that, 6 series? First team offense, which is probably all we're going to get from them. Yeah, that's fine. So essentially 3 series each or something like that. If that math checks out, use that data. Go, okay, we like what we saw 2 weeks in a row, and then do the same thing against Michigan and maybe tweak it a little bit, obviously, because it's a better opponent. So maybe it's not 50-50, maybe it's 60-40 one way or 55-45 one way or the other way. But I'm with you. Your best ability is availability, and Josh Padilla has missed some vital time over the past couple of weeks to make it a wise decision to throw him into that. And then if you want to come up for air after Indy when you got 30 days to get ready for a Rose Bowl, assuming you went out, then you can do whatever you want. Then you can move your whole, you can change your whole offensive line.
Yeah, and you might not have to come up for air because what if Gabe and Tegra are just good and you leave Indy and you say, okay, we figured out right guard. It's Tegra and Gabe Van Sickle, right? The 30-day window is there if it's not great. But the 30-day window also doesn't matter if it's going well.
Yeah, that 30-day window could just be, all right, we know we want. Let's just build on it for 30 days and make sure it's pristine. Okay, that's all I got offensive line-wise. That's 2 weeks in a row. I don't have much more offensive line.
I want to get to the Michigan game so bad already.
I just want to get to Michigan week because there are things we want to do, but you can't do 2 straight weeks of Michigan week stuff on a pod. You're going to burn yourself out, and I'm already starting to feel it.
There's things we want to ask. And it's hard to ask during Rutgers week because the answer is going to be we're focused on Rutgers. And I get it. I get it. You have to focus on the task at hand. But also, I don't know. Caleb Downs and Jeremiah Smith are being told, hey, you're playing the first half and then you're done. That would lead me to suggest that Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs are probably watching some Michigan tape when everyone else is watching some Rutgers tape.
Caleb Downs spent the second half hanging out with Matt Patricia. And I noticed it when they walked back out on the field. He had his helmet in his hand, and he was just talking to Matt Patricia while everybody else is going through warm-ups. I'm like, oh, so Caleb's done today. Cool.
Yeah, you pointed at one point, you're like, Jeremiah Smith's just talking to Maurice Claret. It's like, yeah, let's just take it out.
Yeah, they're just here. We did more work than them. Well, technically, because we worked 4 quarters. They did not. They did not work for 4 quarters. And Carnell didn't work any quarters. Okay, let's take a break, and then we'll come back and have a quick discussion about both sides of the ball. Just things we noticed, both in real time, but also the rewatch.
Introducing Oakley Meta Vanguard, the new performance AI glasses designed for athletes. With hands-free capture on an action-ready ultra-wide camera, powerful open-ear speakers, and built-in Meta AI that syncs with your Garmin devices for real-time insights while you train. Take your performance to the next level with Oakley Meta Vanguard. Athletic intelligence is here. Learn more on meta.com.
This episode is brought to you by Disney. This Thanksgiving, Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde are back on the big screen. So grab your family and friends as Disney invites you to return to Zootopia for the phenomenal movie event of the holiday season. See all your favorite Zootopia characters plus new favorites in the most pawsome movie of the year. Don't miss Disney Zootopia 2 when it hits theaters everywhere November 26th. Get your tickets now.
As a contractor, I don't pay for materials I don't use. So why would I pay for stuff I don't need in my mobile plan? That's why my Biz plan from Verizon Business is so perfect. Now I can choose exactly what I want, and I only pay for what I need.
Right now, with my Biz plan, get our best price, as low as $25 a line. Visit Verizon.com/business to get started today. New lines only. Price per month with 5+ lines. Includes auto pay and paper-free billing and promotional discount. Taxes, fees, economic adjustment charge. Applicable add-ons, prices, and terms apply. Guarantee applies to base monthly rate and stated discounts only. Add-on prices additional. Offers in January 5th, 2026.
This episode is brought to you by Ulta Beauty. Holiday cheer is here, and Ulta Beauty has gifts for everyone on your list. Treat them to fan-favorite gift sets from Charlotte Tilbury and Peach and Lily. Go all out with timeless fragrances from YSL, Ariana Grande, and Carolina Herrera. And you can never go wrong with an Ulta Beauty gift card. Head to Ulta Beauty for gifts that make the holidays brighter and even more beautiful. Ulta Beauty. Gifting happens here.
And we're back here on Buckeye Talk. Stephen Means and Stefan Krajisnik, your Monday Leave No Doubt pod. We try to answer that question every single week. I don't know if it's doubt with the right guard. Actually, it's kind of doubt. It's doubt. Because, again, I've been going back and listening and reading back through how we talked about the Ohio State-Michigan game last year and the amount of times Tegra Chabot, the right guard, came up last year. It's scary how it's 12 months later and we're still having the same conversation about right guard. Now, granted, there's some other things that went into why they lost that game as well, but a lot of it was centered around, man, you never really figured out right guard, and then you tried to use that interior offensive line to beat Michigan, and it didn't necessarily work. Random takeaway. Let's start defense, because we just did a bunch of offense. Random takeaway from the defense coming off this weekend, Stefan.
Let me pull it up here just to make sure I got the grades right from PFF, because I think it matters. But, okay, Edric Houston didn't get a great grade from PFF. It was fine, like kind of middle of the pack there.
Yeah.
Edric keeps playing some good football. He only played 14 defensive snaps, but he's playing some good football right now. And Tyrone Malone was back in the mix, and Tyrone Malone was a starter again. But Edric is giving Ohio State that element that I feel like only he can give Ohio State a defensive tackle. And it's, hey, I used to play some defensive end too. And you noticed it and pointed it out to me during the game. And I liked seeing it again on the rewatch where what we used to see, and if you watch our videos on YouTube, you're going to hear me repeat myself a little bit, so I apologize. But we normally saw when Ohio State kind of went without it, when they would only have one defensive tackle on the field on third downs, it would be Kenyatta Jackson and Bo Atkinson on the outside and Caden Curry with Caden McDonald on the inside. And you pointed out during that UCLA game that they went Kenyatta Jackson and Caden Curry on the outside with Edric Houston on the inside, and then both Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese on the line. And they kind of, identify where they best fit, what gaps they should attack. I like that because Edric can get after the quarterback. We know that. Kenyatta and Caden Curry obviously can get after the quarterback. And you can do a lot of different things. You can have Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles both go at the quarterback. You can have one drop, one go in, the other guy drop, the other guy go in. You can just mix and match so much what you do with that. And I felt like, and I think Caden McDonald's a great all-around player. I think Edric Houston's probably the better pass rusher. Where what we normally saw was, Arvell was kind of the only guy in that mix with those four defensive linemen. This kind of gives you an element of like, you want both linebackers? Do you want one linebacker? Do you want no linebackers? Like, there's just different things I think you can do when Edric is the defensive tackle on the field as opposed to Caden McDonald is the defensive tackle on the field. And that's really intriguing to me because, I don't know, man, it's week 13 and Matt Patricia just keeps putting new stuff on film. And if you're a freshman quarterback, I'm looking at you, Bryce Underwood, like, it's 3rd and 8. What are you expecting? Because I think they can still do the thing that they did where it's Caden McDonald is the only defensive tackle on the field and Caden Curry moves inside and Bo Atkinson. Like, they can still do that. But then now there's this too, and it's Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles. You can unlock so much with them. It's the defensive front is really intriguing to me, especially when it comes to 3rd and longs. And Edric Houston finally being Edric Houston adds another element to that we've been waiting for all year.
Arvell and Sonny being 6'4", 235 and can run like the wind. Matt Patricia do so many different things. And I don't think they're showing a lot in terms of play calls, but it's more just like the personnel groupings. Right. And then you're almost wondering, like, they've been kind of boring, the defense, in terms of what they're actually doing. And it's because they could be. You can't stop. You can't move the ball on our base. Why would we show you anything more exotic than this when you can't move the ball on our base? We're going to save our base for good football teams. I'm just wondering with all these different personnel groupings, what they look like against Michigan in terms of what's he going to call up on a certain play. Like they didn't, all right, you five are out there. Sonny, you and Arvell are going to show blitz. One of you is actually going to blitz and the other one's not. Now both of you are going to show blitz and neither one of you are going to blitz. Now both of you are going to show blitz and both of you are going to blitz. Okay, that's not like exotic. It's just like very simple play calls and depending on what the down and the distance is in those situations. But I think those are their 5 best just go get the quarterback guys. And now that you have a personnel grouping where you put those 5 on the field, that's scary against good teams because you want to see what happens when they play good teams. And now I'm going to protect my future investment.
Okay, wait, can I say one more thing about Arvell? Are you going to talk about Arvell?
No.
One more thing about Arvell. Got a great text from Andrew Gillis early. Actually, this was more so Sunday afternoon, but it pertained to what happened Sunday morning because the Commanders stink. And I'm also realizing now why Gillis was probably awake early Sunday after a late night Saturday is because the Commanders were playing bright and early. Andrew Gillis, Commanders fan, is fully in Arvell Reese mode now. And that actually might be the perfect draft pick for them. So, Andrew, if you're listening, I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for you to keep losing because Arvell Reese to, be the guy who replaces Bobby Wagner, old Bobby Wagner, would probably save a franchise.
Listen, man, you're going to need a top 3 pick to go get Arvell Reese at this point.
The Commanders might just get it.
Yeah, y'all need to lose and lose a lot. So UCLA targeted Devin Sanchez 6 times on Saturday. He gave up 5 catches for 85 yards, including that 51-yarder where I just don't think he was in position. And so he's already out of position, so he can't take a good angle. So he ends up it's a lot of yards after the catch. And he gives up the touchdown that he's in man coverage. They run a pick play, and Aaron Scott falls down. Like that's not all on Devin Sanchez why that happened. The reason I'm choosing Devin again here, I talked about it in one of our videos, but it wasn't as fleshed out because it was cold. We were tired. But Jeremiah Smith is not the bar for how this is supposed to go. And I think him following Jeremiah as like the golden goose of a recruiting class at Ohio State at a NFL position of value, and he's from a top-notch state in terms of NFL talent, high school recruiting talent, right? Like that dude's been playing against 5-star recruits his entire life, right? Like he even mentioned it back in the spring when we talked to him. Like, yeah, I've been playing against DeCorian Moore, right? And you see what DeCorian Moore has been doing at Oregon before he dealt with injuries, right? Yeah. But even that, like DeCorian Moore is not on pace for 1,000 yards right now. He's just having a decent freshman season. He also plays receiver, which is, I think, easier to make the transition from high school to college for a guy who comes from Texas. Corner is very difficult to play. And so when it feels like Devin Sanchez hasn't always looked like the best possible version of Devin Sanchez, I just feel like people are starting to be out on him a little bit, and don't do that. Go look at what Eli Apple looked like early in his career. Go look at what Denzel Ward looked like early in his career. Go look at what Jeff Okudah looked like before the Rose Bowl against Washington in 2018. It was up and down, and he ends up being a number 3 pick in the NFL draft, right? Like this takes time, and I'm glad that happened to him. Not because I'm rooting for his downfall, but because I think there's so much for him to learn off of that game film in terms of, okay, I need to do this better. I can do that a little bit better. I can tweak this. I can tweak that. And it's not just a Devin Sanchez thing. Riley Pettijohn against Purdue the week before that, they threw him out there on the first drive to essentially be the Arvell Reese role where he's spying Brian Browning, and he reads it wrong and he's out of position, and Browning ends up with a scramble for a first down in what should have been a 3-and-out situation. Okay, fine. Riley Pettijohn messed up as a true freshman of a game that was never in any doubt. Great, because next year when Riley Pettijohn's a starting linebacker, he's not going to make that same mistake because he's already learned from that mistake. Aaron Scott's had some moments where it's like, oh, that wasn't great, but it's something to learn from because, again, 10 months from now, he's going to be a starting cornerback here potentially. If Jermaine Matthews decides to leave the two corners we were watching at the end of the game are going to be the two guys who are going to be watching at the beginning of the game next year. So make your mistakes now. Get embarrassed now. Figure it out now. Because then when you're with the ones, when those snaps matter a little bit more and they're a little bit more high leverage, you're not making those same mistakes. And it's why I've stopped being so angry at the fullback stuff, because I thought Nate Roberts, and when they went to it on Saturday, I thought it was pretty good.
Word.
Right? It was okay.
I mean, I also pointed out something. I said to you and Andrew in the press box, they'll go to it on first down, and it won't work, and then they'll run it on second down, and it'll work, and then you can point to it and say, the fullback thing works.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, so that's my hesitation is like, if you run it on fourth and goal, is it going to work? If you run it on first and goal, sure, it might work fair. Because, 1 out of 2 times that's successful when you just need a touchdown. So anyways, continue.
That's fair. I think my bigger defensively, watching Devin have like his trial by fire moment as a college football player, and I don't think Tim Walton walked away from that game. Maybe I was wrong about this kid. I think he walked away from that game like, can't wait to get on the film. Yeah. There's a lot to teach this young kid. And now he's seen it. Now, like, if he's young, right? And he's super talented. So there are things he was probably doing in high school, even if he comes from a really storied program down there in Texas, but because he's talented, he was getting away with those things. And I'm thinking back to this quote Day had after the Minnesota game in 2021, when he was talking about C.J. Stroud's interception in that game. And he was talking about how you can tell a kid as much as you want, but until he sees the consequences for his decisions, like, and have to sit and deal with it, that's when they learn and they grow. 5 catches on 6 targets, one of which was you being out of position, so it leads to a 51-yard gain, and the other one you get picked on, so you end up giving up a touchdown. Those are real consequences for how you're playing. And it's something to learn from. But he wasn't going to learn that going up against JJ in practice. That's going to make him better, but he wasn't going to learn in that situation. Nothing is more valuable than in-game reps. And nothing, I don't think, has been more valuable for Devin Sanchez than what happened at the end of the game against UCLA, and then him having to play 67 snaps as a starter against Illinois, where they also targeted him 6 times. He gave up 4 catches for 55 yards, and he had a couple of pass interference calls, which I thought were ticky-tacky in that game. But still, now you see it. Whatever Tim Walton's telling you, you see it. Now you can apply it. And if he makes a play in a Fiesta Bowl or a Rose Bowl or in a national championship game or against Texas next year, we're going to be going, yeah. Remember 10 months ago when they played UCLA, when he gave up a 51-yard touchdown catch? That's where it's at now, because it's development. And I love the broadcast. I thought this was one of the better broadcasts, because they just use the word development a lot when they were talking about, I guess we can transition into offense now, like the running back room, they call it a developmental position. Like I just felt like I saw a lot of development more than anything else in this game. And I think that's in a game like this where like the score is not going to matter and we're all looking for a way for this to be interesting, especially since Nico's not playing. I think the interesting thing was there are some guys on this team who are now officially 11 months into their college football careers, and we're seeing early returns. And I like the early returns, even if the early returns are you getting embarrassed on a play.
You sound excited to ask Ryan Day a question on Tuesday. I see that.
I know.
I see that, forming in real time. And I will say, like, Doug Maurice asked Ryan Day a question within the past 2 weeks where he basically was like, if you look at the snaps played last season, when you get beyond the starters, when you get beyond the Jack Sawyers and the JTs, the top snaps played were Arvell Reese, Jalen McClain, Caden Curry, Kenyatta Jackson. Like, these guys played as much as you could possibly play them. Like, the top line of players beyond the starters was the guys that are starting today, right? And that's why retention is so important. And I look at the snap counts this year. When you get beyond Jalen McClain, Jermaine Matthews, Caleb Downs, Sonny Styles, Arvell Reese, Caden Curry, when you get beyond the starters, the first names you see popping up, Devin Sanchez, Tywone Malone, Peyton Pierce, Edric Houston, Will Smith Jr., Aaron Scott, Zion Grady. Guys that in 7 months, when we're projecting the depth chart, might very well be starters. And that's why it's important. That's why, if you want to talk about leave no doubt, the topic of our pod here every week is you want to leave as little doubt for next season as possible. And once you leave no doubt in terms of who's going to win between Ohio State and UCLA, the next thing to leave no doubt about is let's have Devin Sanchez ready to start against Texas in September 2026. I don't know what year. I don't even know what date it is, let alone what year it is. Let's think about that. And it helps, right? It helps. It goes a long way. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Devin Sanchez or Aaron Scott or Riley Pettijohn or Jarquez Carter. We saw Leroy Roker have some low moments this year. When they go out there and struggle, I do not point to that and say, these guys are not who Ohio State thought they were going to be when they recruited them. I look at that and say, those guys are going to learn from those mistakes and have a really good opportunity in 2026 to be impact players because of the mistakes that they made. And I guarantee you, if we were interviewing Jack Sawyer or JT Tuimoloau or Cody Simon, and we said, what was the biggest learning moment? They would talk about their freshman or sophomore years, and they'd be like, yeah, some dude from Rutgers toasted me.
Yeah.
Right? Jack Sawyer's not going to say my biggest learning moment was a scoop and score against Texas. No, it was when he tried to rush a passer in 2021 or 2022 and just got destroyed by right tackle.
And it was from like some random game where they won it by 40. And you're like, what? It's like, yeah, they have good players too, dude. They have good players.
It's a game that you struggle to find on the internet so you could rewatch it.
Yes.
You're like, what streaming service was that?
So yeah, it's just, I wasn't, Jeremiah Smith's not the bar. So we got like Jeremiah Smith and he's not normal. You're not supposed to do what he did last year. Even Trevor Lawrence in 2018, they slow played that the first couple of weeks of the year. He was like sharing that duty with Kelly Bryant to start that year. And Justin Ross, who popped off in the national championship game and then the college football playoff that year, he didn't do that all season. He got better throughout the year. Tua, they plopped him in the national championship game. It wasn't like he took the job from Jalen Hurts in week 2. Georgia was good enough to like Jake Fromm. Justin Fields wasn't great at Georgia, and quite frankly, was kind of horrid in spring practice when he first got here. And it took some time, and it finally got there. Imagine where C.J. Stroud was as a true freshman here, and he was really good, right? Garrett Wilson. I remember asking somebody about that, just like comparing JJ as a true freshman like Garrett. It was like, it's not even close. Garrett was not even close to this. Like JJ's not. He's a superhuman. He's not ever the person we're comparing people to in terms of what an impact as a freshman should look like. Evan Sanchez's impact right now is actually reasonable for what we should be expecting from a 5-star recruit. You play special teams, and you get a small gradual role in a defense that might grow. And that depends on what your room looks like. And that's what he has, right? Riley Pettijohn's the same way. Special teams, and he's their 4th linebacker. And that's okay.
It's fine. It was like, again, Evan Sanchez is also he's probably going to play in the national championship game this year.
Yeah.
It's just in a smaller role. Kendrick Houston played in the national championship game last year. Kendrick Houston was not Jeremiah Smith last year. Guess what? He was super impactful as a freshman and has been super impactful as a sophomore now that he's found his groove. And I might have him on my all Big Ten preseason list next year.
Yeah.
Fine.
So it's just, you gotta be patient with guys. Don't give him on dudes. He's 10 games into his career, man. And that's why it's the thing of, we did the Retalkables this week, and it's the, if they bite, they'll bite as a pup. Yeah, that doesn't mean they're going to eat the whole meal as a pup. Yeah. It just means you'll see something that tells you, okay, what that means is they'll show a flash that lets you know that when it finally hits, this is what it's going to look like. And I've seen those moments from Devin where, like, when it finally hits, it's going to hit. It's just when those moments happen, they don't throw the ball to him because he's locked down his guy. When it doesn't look like that, and then they pick on you in the second half like UCLA does, that's the thing about playing corner is sometimes you don't get noticed if you just lock down your side. And I've seen moments where he's locked down his side. Yeah. So Team Devin over here, man. Team Devin. I'm not giving up on that guy. Offensively, biggest takeaway.
Yeah, you kind of alluded to a little bit. I'm starting to drink the James Peoples Kool-Aid a little bit again.
Whew.
That hurdle was awesome. But also just the way he's playing has been awesome. I wrote about this for cleveland.com on Sunday morning, and like, he hasn't scored a touchdown yet this year. He hadn't scored a touchdown yet going into the UCLA game. This was not a 2-touchdown breakout performance or a 2-touchdown flash in the pan. This was if you've been paying attention, you knew this 2-touchdown game was coming type of performance.
Yeah.
Spencer Holbrook asked Ryan Day about it after the Penn State game, where I don't have the stats in front of me. I think it was James had 4 carries for like 20 yards against Penn State, and they all came in the fourth quarter. And 11 of those carries came on one rush. Or 11 of those yards came on one rush. And you could see some of the emotion. It's like, okay, James Peoples has a little juice here. It just happened in garbage time when nobody was watching. And then against Purdue, he had some moments again. I think it was like 8 carries for 20-something yards. Not great, but it's one of those things where you're like, okay. Yep. I saw some moments. And then boom, there was CJ Donaldson's not playing. That helps, gives him some more reps, and he took advantage of his opportunity. And it goes again kind of to the conversation that you were just having about Devin Sanchez, where it's like James is in a similar boat to Edric Houston, where we saw flashes as a freshman, and you're thinking to yourself, all right, this guy's no doubt starter. Like, it just takes some dudes a little bit longer, right? And Bo Jackson and Isaiah West, they entered the mix, and it's shiny new toys, and everything's intriguing, and CJ Donaldson's got his role, and James talked about it. Like, it was tough. There were some low moments, right, where he kind of just had to, find his own momentum and kind of talk himself into it a little bit, but he kept the faith, and he's got a big role on his team. And we talked about it on the post-game pod of there's a role for him. There's a role for 4 running backs on his team. Carlos Loughlin has been telling us that there's going to be a role for 4 running backs on his team, and we're here. And it's late. It's mid to late November, and James Peoples is playing his best football of the season. Are you taking him out of the rotation now just because in September and October, Bo and Isaiah were doing some things that were ahead of where James was at? You're not going to do that. Who cares what happened in September or October if someone's starting to play his best football in November? I'm not saying he's jumping Bo Jackson and Isaiah West on the depth chart now again. I'm not saying he's RB1. I'm just saying he's going to have an important role for this team. And when Ohio State's playing Indiana in the Big Ten title game, or when Ohio State's playing Indiana in the national championship game, I don't know. Don't when James Peoples has a touchdown in an ad. I'm not ruling it out. He's playing his best football right now, and I think that's important for Ohio State.
I also don't think he did anything wrong. Like his like place in the hierarchy isn't because of him necessarily doing anything wrong. It's just because like Bo Jackson's that good, Isaiah West is that good, and got healthy and got a chance to be a part of this rotation. But yeah, I think they're going to play 4 guys. And I think Carlos Loughlin's found a rhythm to playing all 4 of those guys. What helps is that they're blowing teams out. So there's been no need to like have a workhorse back in those situations. And if you keep blowing teams out, then you can play 4 different guys. Mine's on offense is pretty simple. I'm ready for them to play real football teams. Brandon he's got some really strong hands, man. Those were some pretty impressive catches. And I know they didn't get a bunch of yards off of him, but those are some key like 3rd down catches that he had and were contested catches. If Julian Sand throws the ball 35 times against Michigan, what's the touches breakdown?
Okay. 8. Okay, so we're doing targets. Sorry, I was thinking receptions at first.
Yeah.
10 to Jeremiah.
Okay.
7 to Carnell.
Okay.
5 to Brandon Ennis.
Okay.
I'm at 22. Probably another like 6 to like the tight ends combined.
Okay.
28. Let's say 3 to the running backs. 31. So I'm only at 31. So you could probably give like another 1 or 2 to Brandon, another 1 or 2 to Carnell, Jeremiah.
Yeah.
I probably could have given a couple more to Carnell, a couple more to Brandon Ennis. So
yeah, but I'm fine with like 4.
Like 6 to 8 for Brandon, probably.
Yeah, I'm okay with like 4 miscellaneous. Let's see how the game is playing out. Okay, that's fine. Because I also think that's right. That also has not happened in a game yet, that distribution, because it has not had to happen in a game yet, because he doesn't miss. Julian Sand was so out of character on Saturday that he only completed 74% of his passes, which brought down his season-long completion percentage to 80.1%. He's slipping.
Bench him
now. But yeah, because they've kicked everybody's butt, they have not done that yet. Even if he threw the ball 31 times on Saturday. It's not like they just ran the ball, right? They threw it 34 times, 31 with the starter, and then Lincoln Keenholz was 3 for 3 for 34 yards, and they ran it 33 times. They had balance on Saturday. It's just it was missing the explosive factor to it. But I think that's how I would have mapped this out, which is why it was important to see Brandon Ennis, what he looks like with 6 touches. And again, it was a lot of zone, so I don't think we got to see him out in open space a lot and get a bunch of wiggle in it. But it was like reliable. And I think that's what they have at the slot receiver position is if the explosiveness is on the outside this year, then the guy who's not getting the ball as much as the other 2 better damn near be the most reliable receiver ever. And that's what they have at slot receiver this year. He is more KJ Hill than he is Jackson Smith-Njigba Emeka Ibuka in terms of very reliable. And that's not to say the other two weren't reliable. They had great hands, but they were also like star receivers with the ball in their hands. I'm not sure that Brandon Ennis is a star receiver with the ball in his hands in comparison to the guys he's playing with. But if you know that you can throw it to him 6 times and he's going to catch all 6 of them, in a world where teams might sell out to take away Cardinal Tate and Brandon in a Jeremiah Smith in games, that matters. If he can give you 6 for 40 when the guys on the outside are going to give you 8 for 130, I can live with that. I just want to see all of it happen in the same game. And we have not had a chance to see Bo Jackson, 7.5 yards a carry, Isaiah West, 7.6 yards per carry as your top 2 backs, plus the passing game happen all in the same game. And that's why I'm ready to get to the Michigan game. And that's every time Brandon Ennis caught the ball, I was thinking to myself, I'm ready to see this team like do everything that it's going to be in one football game. And unfortunately, I have to sit through Rutgers before I get a chance to see them.
Brandon has been reliable for Ohio State. I'm looking at his numbers now. Like he's the 25, 29, 31. Out of his 31 targets, he's caught all but 4 of them, if I'm doing this math right, according to Pro Football Focus.
Yeah.
Like he's doing his job when he's asked to do it.
I
wonder if there's going to be a point in the playoff where we do the Hunter Renfrow thing where we stay like 3rd and Ennis, where it's like 3rd and 3 and it's like, yeah, Ennis is going to be open. Yeah. Stan's going to hit him. It's going to be a first down.
Probably. I think what's happened with Brandon is he fumbled the punt return against Washington and he dropped the slot fade against Texas and people were out. It was, and instead it's like, or just give it time, man. Let him develop. Yeah. That's what, let things develop. And I think you're starting to see all the pieces come together. And on November 29th, assuming this team doesn't turtle shell itself again, I think we might see everything finally come together in one game. The run game and the development we've seen from that, both from the running backs and also the offensive line cohesion that we've seen this back half of the season, we see that against Michigan. The passing game, which we know is always there, but we see every single element. It's not just the Julian Sand, Cardinal Tate, and Jeremiah Smith show. It's Brandon Ennis. It's the tight ends. It's the fact that Julian Sand doesn't force things. So if he needs to take his check down, he'll take his check down to Isaiah West and he'll turn a 2-yard catch into a 7-yard gain. Everything that we think this offense is finally comes all together in 2 weeks against Michigan. And it's like, that's the Ohio State offense we thought we were going to get this year. And they spent 12 weeks putting it together. Now they're fully unloading it on Michigan. And they never closed the book again. And that was the quote that Ryan Day said, when it's time to put the foot on the gas, we will. I think everybody's hoping that's going to be on November 29th. And I think what we have seen through is how to build an offense in 12 weeks with a bunch of young guys. And I think that's a good thing. You just got to go do it now because it means nothing if you spend 11 weeks building this thing and then you get to week 12 and it's like, we're not going to do that. We're going to do this other thing instead and think it's going to work.
Yeah. I think my take is win the damn game. And if you're an Ohio State fan who agrees, if you're an Ohio State fan who believes, hey, can we just win the damn game? Join the text 614-350-3315 and tell us how you feel.
All this analysis, it's like, bro, just win the game, man. I don't care.
Honestly, though, and the benefit of it being a night game against UCLA was we were able to see a lot of the other games going on.
Yeah.
If you watched Michigan Northwestern, again, a lot of the times we come on here and we're like, hey, what about for our Monday pod? Let's do we'll rewatch Ohio State, but also let's rewatch Michigan and see where Ohio State can exploit them. I think you and I both watched that Northwestern game, and our reaction was like, just win the damn game. You're better than them. Let's not overthink this, dude. I'm not gonna sit here and rewatch the Michigan game and say Brian Hartline can exploit Michigan by running through the big guy. Dude, you're better than them. And I know there's people who are either driving to work on Monday morning right now, or they're out on their Monday morning walk, or whatever you're doing. You're walking your dog, you're taking your kids to daycare. Maybe your kid's in the backseat right now listening to Stefan being like, yeah, Dad, can they just win the damn game?
Yeah, that's not flippant. That's not dismissing the rivalry. We're just 4 years into this thing, and this is the point we've reached of just go win the freaking game. We'll spend the next couple. Obviously, we're gonna do everything we can to analyze it and bring you great content and all those different things. But the conclusion at the end of every single thing we do is going to be This is all great. Just go win the freaking football game.
Yes.
That's what we've got with the
better
rivalry.
than the other team.
Yes. And we can spend 2 weeks going, here's this way they're better. Here's that way they're better. We did it last year. Just win the game. Don't think about it. Just go do it.
Anyways, Ohio State Rutgers on or Ohio.
Yeah, one more home game.
I some fun stuff there because I kind of forgot that it was Rutgers.
Yes. This is not listen. It's Michigan month. This is not Rutgers week. Fun stuff planned this week. Ohio State has been super busy on the recruiting trail. I think this is the most flips they've had that are pro Ohio State in my time covering this team. So Gillis and I will be talking about that for the Tuesday pod. Wednesday pod is we'll be back in the Woody on Tuesday talking with Ryan Day as they prepare to play Rutgers this week. So we'll be talking about that. Maybe we'll get updates on some of these injuries and guys. Wednesday is at 11 a.m. on the YouTube channel. We go live. I sent them a list of 9 guys who are third-year NFL draft eligible for the first time in their career. And we're going to be playing the game of will he or won't he leave with some of these guys. We do that every single year. We're getting Texans involved as well, 614-350-3315. I think this is an intriguing bunch where some of them obviously are no-brainer conversations. Some of them became no-brainers because of what they have done this season. But there's also a couple of them where I think it's a little bit more nuanced, where I think it could go either way. And so I think those conversations will be fun. We'll have our game preview pod for Ohio State Rutgers this week. We're also starting our Michigan lead up. We got some fun stuff coming this week. Our columnist Jimmy Watkins asked our texters about the idea of it feels like there's a lot of different schools out there who kind of have their like champion in the media. And with Dave Portnoy and what he's become over at Fox, does it feel like Ohio State should have that with some of the alumni they have in the media? And do you want that? I'm going to be exploring like what Ohio State and Michigan have done the week before the game in terms of how they've played. Have they ever been caught looking ahead with how they've played? Obviously, if from an Ohio State perspective, do you remember the 2018 Maryland game that went into overtime? You remember the other time you went into Maryland where it was a 4-quarter game? Michigan's had a couple of close calls before the game, plus plenty of other stuff coming this week because they are at Maryland this week again. It's somebody's always playing Maryland before this game. What's going on here? But I looked up a lot of this stuff. It's actually pretty intriguing to look at how often one of these two teams gets caught looking ahead, whether it costs them or not. Does it show up in their play where it's like, okay, they clearly are ready for the rivalry game. They just got to get through this versus how often they just blow that team off of the field and don't have like a no nonsense situation. What's interesting is Ohio State's played a couple of like big games the week before the Michigan game as well. They played a couple of top 10 teams over the last 7 years here. So they haven't been able to just kind of look ahead before that game. Win or lose, whatever happens in the Michigan game, they've had some pretty big games before that. So fun stuff coming through the text, coming through the pod, coming through the YouTube channel. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's at Buckeye Talk on YouTube. But most importantly, get the text 614-315, 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that. For Stefan Krajisnik, I'm Stephen Means. Talk to you guys later.
Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan are back in Disney's Freakier Friday, now streaming on Disney+.
We switched bodies.
I am freaking out right now. I think I just peed a little.
It's an absolute riot. And the only movie that can be described as
so much weirder than the last time.
What last time?
It's the frequel.
You ready?
We've been waiting for.
That absolutely slays.
Disney's Freakier Friday, now streaming on Disney+. Rated PG.